Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for everyone who's liked and subscribed and comment. You guys are always positive and great, and welcome to all the new subscribers. So today we're going to be doing an alternator swap in a Land Rover Series 2A diesel, early 2A, but we're going to be switching from what is on there, a tractor generator, to an AC Delco 10SI or whatever. So it's going to be a longer video. It kind of go through a whole bunch of different parts, and I'm going to show you the process as I'm doing it or whatever, and figuring out how to fit it on there, you know what I mean? So the video is going to be basically like this: the reasons, unboxing of the alternator, we're going to take a look at that, removing the generator, we're going to test fit the new alternator, and we're going to make some spacers. We'll probably end up buying some spacers, but we'll have to see or whatever. And oh, about the spacer, you need a 1-inch spacer, just to clarify. I'll have a parts list. I'm going to talk about it right now. And then we're going to, if you buy the wrong alternator, let's say the connector's in the wrong position, I'm going to show you how to rotate the connector on the alternator. And then the wiring itself, that might be a little bit, it's really simple, but it seems to be really complicated in the video for some reason. So all these things here, I would definitely research, do a little Googling. You'll see a little bit. There's some good write-ups about how to do things in different parts and stuff like that. So, but this is my process that I did to convert my car. So this is the part list. I'm going to give it to you now, so I stumble over my words later in the video. So we got the AC Delco, which I guess they call them just the Delco these days. No more AC Delco. And it's called a 10SI. And there's also the 12SI. So be careful whenever you order that you get the one with the regular belt pulley on it instead of a serpentine belt. The 12SIs, which I don't have written here, is sometimes they go for a serpentine belt. So the plug, part number. Plug, GM 2-wire plug harness, or harness, whatever you want to call it. Use a 5/16 or an M8 bolt, which is roughly about 6.5 inches long, or 165 millimeters long. Around in that size should get you there. And then the spacer, I'm going to say in the video 1 3/8 through the whole video till the end. So just to clarify, to make sure that you're going to need a 1-inch spacer or a 25 millimeter spacer to fit it onto the engine block. And then you can still use your stock Land Rover belt that's already on your truck. So those are the pieces and parts needed. So you can see them on the screen now and go from there. So the alternator itself is listed for a lot of different cars, and you'll see that in the video as well. So I don't know how to make chapters and videos, so you can skip along if you want or whatever and check it out. But if you find the video helpful any which way, or you want to donate and help support the channel, up here or somewhere around here, or go to the About on my channel, there'll be a link to the tip jar, or buy me a beer if you want to, just to say thank you and help the channel along. And it's a PayPal thing. So thank you very much. All the likes and subscribers and followers, and you guys are always great and always positive. And enjoy the video. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'd gladly answer them as much as I can. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Stay awesome. See you next time.
Oh, and welcome back to the Land Rover. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be replacing the generator here with an upgraded to an alternator. So I've been having a bunch of problems with this or whatever with the generator. So I took it off, I replaced the brushes, and I did all that, and I had it working. The light turned off on the dash. It was working good with the regulator and everything, and then after only a short period of time, it's already worn out the brushes again. So we're down to only 1 volt coming out of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade to an alternator, which I'm not a fan of, but I'm getting too frustrated with all this with the electrical, and I just want it to be done. So what I'm going to do is we're going to upgrade to a GM one, which I haven't seen any videos on the upgrade itself. So let's go over to the workbench, and I'll show you the alternator we're going to upgrade to. So let's go over to the workbench. So we're back over here at the workbench. This is the alternator and connector that I bought. We'll go over that some more. But it's a Napa Auto Parts alternator. It's a rebuilt one. This is the part number. 213-4010 is the alternator. So what this is a GM internal regulated alternator. So this is what they call, I think it's a 10SI or a 12SI. I don't know which one this is, but I can't remember what vehicle I looked it up for, but when you do Google online and everything, it'll tell you a lot about this stuff or whatever. So here it is. What we got inside, we have some, looks like installation instructions, some different things and warnings. And then probably some type of warranty. Yeah, there's some type of warranty or paper with that. So you have that. Then you have, oh, here we go. This will kind of give you a little bit of what you're looking for a vehicle. So here it actually has it inside some of the cars. So like a Buick Century, a Pontiac 6000. These are kind of newer ones here or whatever, but I can't remember what I looked it up for, like 85 Camaro, I think Chevy Camaro. I looked it up for a V8 and it popped up. Actually, now I remember what I looked it up. So that's what popped up. And also these are some other ones here, which symptoms I think is that one of the relays might not work. But anyways, we don't worry about that. We're doing Land Rover stuff, so we don't care about, you know, safety important notices. We're just doing Land Rover stuff. And so it looks like this is some type of test sheet. It looks like they must have tested it to make sure it works beforehand. So, all right, let's look at the alternator. There's nothing else in the box. So what we got? We got a mounting bolt up here on the top. And then we have a pivot point down here on the bottom. And then look at the back. We'll look at the back here. So we have our positive here. Actually, we'll rotate it this way. Positive here. This goes straight to your battery. I'll draw a little diagram to make it a little bit easier. So then we got a connection 1 and a connection 2. I'm not sure which one goes to what or whatever, so we'll have to look into that. And then we have a ground right here. And then I did notice that some of them have a tachometer connection. I wish I would have bought that now in hindsight after I bought it. I wish I would have got the one with a tachometer position on it so you could hook up a tachometer of some kind or whatever. So it looks like some type of writing on there. It says made in USA. But it's also called a Delco alternator is what it's called. So take this off. Stop. If you have any ASC certified technicians, we don't worry about that stuff too. So here's the alternator. Here it already comes with the pulley on there. So there's not much else I could say about this or whatever, but it does have a core charge on it if you had one to get rebuilt. But I found that Napa seemed to have the best price for the alternator and then also the connector as well. So then you have the connector and it plugs right into here so you don't have to make your own harness. You have your own plug that goes into there. And this came to, with this and everything, came to $75 in US. And I've seen it at other auto parts like AutoZone, Advanced Auto Parts, you know, American ones or whatever. They want like $150 for this. So like twice the amount of money for something as simple as this or whatever. But we're going to look at, I'm going to go work on taking the old generator off and we'll see how we're going to mount this. From just guessing right now, it looks like we might be able to put a bolt right through here to the block. We'll take a closer look at that. And then reuse the bracket up on the top for the adjustment. But we'll look into that as well. So let's get started. Okay, so I already disconnected the battery on the other side. So we're gonna start disconnecting all of the pieces and parts. It's kind of a shame that I can't use it, not gonna use this because I was really hoping I didn't have to change it because I really like the generators. So there's the ground. 7/16, takes these off. So just looking at the wiring already, since everything's going to be internal now, we're not going to be using the regulator. So it looks like we might be able just to take it right over here to the battery cable over here from the starter to over to here to put power, because there's a cable here. I'll give you a closer look here when I'm done, but just guesstimating right now, looking at it, it's looking like the wiring might be a lot easier to do. And I'm going to continue working, getting this done, get this off, and then I'll be back. All right, so the generator's now out. All right, so you can see down here, just looking at it right now, it opens everything wide open down here when you have an alternator, but I'm just wondering if is it going to be big, is it going to be too big for the area, because it's a pretty big alternator. So the next thing I'm going to do is take this bracket off, the original bracket over here. Take this bracket off, the original Lucas one that was there for this. And then this is the original one here too. It kind of has a S-bend to it or whatever. We'll see if we can use this for the top one. So I'm going to leave this one in there and take that one out, because this piece right here, I'm thinking we might be able to put the alternator and bolt it right here, have it sitting here, be the pivot point right here coming around. But we'll see how it fits and lays out or whatever. Okay, so I'm taking the bottom bracket out, and then the weirdest thing is that bolt down on the bottom down there, it won't come out unless the pulley's out of the way. So I actually notched it so I could put this bracket on and put this bolt into the top. It's an odd design that they didn't move this somewhere just a little bit to clear the pulley down there. So I'm going to put this bolt back in. Okay, so we got the alternator here, and I got just a temporary bolt I'm going to put through to see how she lines up. Okay, I got her in there. You can see here, here's the belt, and here's the alternator. It's looking like, now I pushed it in there all the way against that bracket and everything. I'm gonna have to make a spacer of some sort to move it out. So let's take a look-see, and I'll take a measurement and see how much further we need to come out. Okay, so here we are. I got the alternator pushed out, sitting on that bolt. So just eyeballing it from here to there, kind of looking to see if the pulleys are aligned, the top pulley, this pulley, and the crank pulley. It's looking like it's pretty much dead on. It's kind of leaning right now. So if I kind of hold this up the way it's going to be, it pretty much lines straight up with everything right here. So I'm going to take a measurement and see how it falls in the line back there. Okay, now let me take the alternator off and I'll show you where I'm measuring from. So with the bolt back there, whoop, it just fell. So I pushed it forward. So I'm measuring from this surface here to the edge of this surface right here. If you can see that, right to there. So you saw here, measured to here. And then while it was here in the way, I measured all the way to this edge right here. So it came to 4 inches to this edge right here. Okay? So we're right at just about 4 inches. So it's looking like we need a spacer that's 1 3/8 long, it looks like. 1 3/8 would work, right where that's falling in line. So that should get us pretty close to where we need to be. So I'm going to work on making a spacer for here. Got some stainless steel tube. It's a pretty thick wall tube or whatever. I'm going to use this for a spacer. Take it, mark it off, inch and a quarter, actually inch and 3/8. And I'm going to shave it down just a little bit, maybe to 1 1/4, because I'm going to put some washers on there as spacers or whatever. So here we go. Okay, like I said, here it is here. So this is going to go in between the frame, spacer, and then the alternator. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically do this or whatever. Like that, and then put a washer on there too. Just to give it some something to crush into or whatever. So there's our spacer right there. The bolt's there just there to show so it doesn't fall over. But this is what I'm going to do. So let's go test fit it and see how it goes. So here we go. Gonna do the bolt, washer, spacer, and a washer. You can see there's not going to be much left or whatever, so remember this is just for test fit here. Huh. Yeah, I'm thinking that's looking pretty good right there. Let's kind of forward a little bit. I think I may need to position this up to this hole up here. Okay, so if I hold this straight, you can see it kind of lines up there pretty good. And that bracket kind of lines up. I'm not quite sure. We're gonna have to see how that plays out. But it's looking pretty good so far. Yeah, you can see that's not going to fit right there. If it was more on an angle, maybe up at this bolt, if you can see that. This bolt that's up here. Moving it up to here, and we'll see how that might give us the distance, or it might be too short then. But I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, I'm going to take this off and move this up to here and see what it goes. Okay, so I got this flipped over, and then test fit your bolt. Fits in this slot, goes the whole way. Since I actually had to fix my bracket and I welded it, and I made this kind of got closer down here, so I had to widen the slot a little bit to get that in there, so be careful of that. So this putting up here on an angle, I'll show you a better shot here. Seems like everything is lining up pretty good with the bracket. I'll show you here a closer shot of it. And also, I had to change out my belt. Since this is this belt size here is an 11 AV 1055. This was for that generator, for that tractor generator that was on here. So now, and this is not a Land Rover part whatsoever. So years ago, whenever I bought my Land Rover, and I thought, well, I needed a new belt, I might as well replace the belt while I'm here. It never fit the whole time I've had it. So now finally I get to use it. So this is the belt that I have on there now. And it fits on there real good. I'll show you closer here. But I'll show you right now or whatever. I'll give you a quick look. Okay, so you can see the bracket is going to go here. I flipped it over and I have it with the S pointing this way towards the front. Then this bolt's going to go into here. And now it's a pretty tight fit. You can see here, I'll show you. See, there's not much adjustability in this bracket right here, the way that it is. So, okay, sorry, lost the train of thought there. So here, there's not much adjustability. So the belt, the old Land Rover, this Land Rover belt that I bought a while back, it fits on here perfectly, and it gets the alternator. It's pretty close to the block there, but it's still giving it its full belt is tight the whole way, and I'm only not gonna have much adjustability to the end of this, so that might be something you may need to change later, but I'm gonna leave it how it is right now. I'm not gonna weld this bracket or change the bracket or anything, so right now I'm gonna leave it as is. So I'm going to tighten up the top here and see how it lines up with everything. But the bottom spacer is definitely working, but I do have to get a longer bolt for that. So I got this snug down, I got this snug down too. And if I turn this just a little bit like this, it lines up perfectly, the belt, all the way down to the pulley, down to the other pulley or whatever. So it's working great. This, I'm gonna tweak this a little bit. I'm gonna give it a little bend right here just to turn it a little bit. And then I'm gonna run to the hardware store and pick up a longer 5/16 bolt that goes across. I'll be back. I went over to Tractor Supply to get, which is just like a farming type building to get different type of stuff, hardware. It's like your local hardware store. So what I did is I couldn't find a 6-inch bolt, 6.5-inch bolt. After measuring everything, it was like 2.6, then 3 + 3, so we're almost to 6 inches long from this piece here with the spacer and then to the block, the engine block. So I need about a 6.5-inch 5/16 bolt, which I couldn't find at the store. So what I've done in the past, I've done it before or whatever, is I just use all thread, and it's a 5/16, 18, 3 feet long or whatever. You got to buy a piece of this. It's pretty cheap and affordable. So then I also bought some grade 8 bolts, and so then I can cut this off and make the piece, the bolt, whatever the length that I want it to be. So while I was there, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try too. So I bought a 5/16 rod. It's literally just plain smooth rod, zinc plated. So what I did is I cut this off to 6.5, almost 7, well, a little over 6.5 inches or whatever, about 7 inches long. And what I did is I actually tapped the end. I don't have any English taps, so I have metric taps. So I tap this end as a metric M8, and this side is a metric M8. So it gets a little bit stronger in between here than just having all thread. So I thought I'd give this a try or whatever. So this will go through, like I said before, through here, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, so this is what I'm going to give a try to here or whatever. So threaded up pretty nice on the ends. So I'm pretty happy with that. So which makes this a lot stronger than you don't have the threads going all through there. So while I was there, I thought, hey, let's spend some more money while we're there. So I bought a 5/16 spacer that's 1 inch long. Then I bought 5/16 spacer that's 3/8 long. So it becomes, I'm going to put these together and use them as a spacer, as 1 3/8 spacer. So we'll go here to the little spacers right here to the block. So I'm going to give that a try with our fancy new tapped or threaded end rods right here. So we're going to go give this a try and do a fit up on it. All right, quick tip for you guys. So whenever you're ordering this, the position of this can be at different positions. It could be at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 9 o'clock. So the one I got was actually, I don't even know what o'clock it is, but this pin here with these bolts here are in the wrong position. They were right up against the engine block. So what you could do is take out the 4 bolts that go around the outside of it, take it off, as you can see, and then you could position this any direction. You could turn it any which way or whatever. So
this is the tip that I wanted to point out. So if you end up getting the wrong alternator or something, or if you wrong one, inside here there are 2 brushes that are held in with springs, okay? What I did is I took a paper clip in the back, put it through, pushed the brushes up inside with the springs, because the springs are kind of long, so push them up in there, put the paper clip up through. You can see right there. There's the paper clip, and it's holding the brushes in. So then you can take this, position it whatever way you want it to be, which I want to have this is the top bolt, the adjuster bolt here. I want to have those bolt, what am I trying to say? The connector, I want it to be up on top. But you can position it any which way. So you put that in there. You kind of even that up there, and then you'll be able to, once you have this all set with the screws in here and everything, then release the paper clip, and it should reset the brushes. There's the quick tip on this if you end up getting the wrong one like I did, which I'm going to do a search online, and I'm going to put a picture up. Somebody I saw on one of the websites or whatever said you could order it by part number and you'll have this at a certain position. So I'll go find that and put that up on the screen. In the meantime, I'm going to put this back together and pull this pin out. So I got the bolts back in. It runs super smooth. There's no binding or nothing like that. So here we got our paper clip. I'm going to pull it out and see if you can hear it. Here, did you hear that? So now we're back together and we should be ready to roll. So from reading the numbers and looking at the pieces and parts or whatever, this one is part number 7128-3. So in that picture I just had up on the screen, -3 means it was at 3 o'clock. So what you want to find is the one that says -12 after, so it's 12 o'clock. So if we're looking at it here, if that was originally, here's the threaded hole right here. Originally it was sitting right here, which was at 3 o'clock. So now we have it at 12 o'clock. So you want to have the one with 12 or 9, unless you want to have it close to the frame rail right here, or 6 o'clock down here if you want it to be pointing downwards towards the bottom of the car. But I think I'm going to go with it up on top like this. So -12 means up here, so that's the 12 o'clock position, where originally it was at 3. All right, so here we are. We got our bolt that we made, our custom bolt. Put that through. And we're going to put our spacers on this side. There. Here. I'm going to try to fit it here, and hopefully I won't be in the middle of the camera, but I'm sure I will be. Okay, so we got her in there. I'm going to put a nut and washer on the end. Now it looks like it could come over a little bit. Kind of see how the belt's kind of pushing out this way from there. So I think if I take that spacer and grind it down a little bit, it might fit in there perfect. I'm gonna see if that'll line it up a little bit better. Okay, so I got her on there now, and I took there, we had the 1 inch and then the 3/8 spacer. I took the 3/8 spacer and I put it on this side over here, just because now our bolt was too short or whatever. So over here I have the 1 inch spacer, the spacer. And now when you look at this, it is straight on to here, and straight down to there. There might be a little bit of a variation, but there's actually a variation from the pump, water pump, to the crank. So even that there is not even perfectly straight. So right now it's pretty much straight on with all 3 wheels or whatever, all 3 pulleys. So what I did is the 1 inch spacer. See, I don't think I got right with the spacer until I actually tightened it up. Once I tightened that bolt up, then you could get a good measurement or see how everything is going to line up. So now the bottom is snugged on. I had to bend this bracket
because this piece here, the mounting flange here and here, are almost perfectly aligned. They're only maybe about that far off from each other, so I had to straighten the bracket out a little bit. So I have a feeling in the future I got this adjusted out as far as I could to here. So I think I'm gonna either make another bracket or cut this off and make it longer, but the belt is tight right now, so I think we're good for now. But for future, I think I'm gonna be replacing this with a longer one. But right now we're good. We got space up here and we got space down here to adjust the belt longer if we need to, if it stretches. So we're doing pretty good right here. And as you can see, here's the connector. Before, the connector was back here, if you saw earlier in the video, before I showed you to turn this piece or whatever. So now it's turned and it's here at the 12 o'clock, right across from here. So now we can connect our power wires. Here we got a power here. This is the main output power here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just run a wire over to here, right over to our big starter wire right here. This one, this bolt here goes, I have a heavy cable that goes around the engine compartment, goes around right over to the battery. So to the positive side of the battery. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a heavy wire, maybe 8 gauge or 10 gauge from here. I'm gonna run it right over to the starter, kind of like a lot of the instructions that you see online on how to run these things. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do there for the main power. So then the other wires that were here, if you see my wiring harness and you know about it. So I'm going to keep the yellow one, is going to be for the dash light. The green one is going to be eliminated because it's no longer going to be going over to the voltage regulator. I'm going to be taking the voltage regulator out. And then this is brown as ground. I'm just gonna put this over to the ground one, which is over here. So we have ground here, positive here, and this is gonna be our connector here that comes out and connects everything to here, to these pieces. So I'm gonna go back to the workbench and grab some wire and make some measurements here and how I'm gonna connect this. Okay, we're going to do a quick talk on the wiring. This is going to get confusing really fast, and I found it very confusing online whenever I was doing this. But I'm going to put a picture up on the screen right now, and this is basically what I'm following, and it's like the most simplest diagram that I found, and it's straight and to the point, and it'll get you what you need or whatever. So when you look at that diagram, this is what you're looking at here. This is the back of the alternator. You have a 1 and a 2, and you have your positive and negative right here. These are the two big bolts that are on the back, and these are the two things that are on top. So here's the connector here that we're going to be using. It is Napa GM 2-wire connector, and it is part number, here you go, 78105. This is not very expensive. It's very cheap to do or whatever. So this plugs right into your 1 and 2 connector up here or whatever. So number 1 is white. It's going to be the white one that's coming off here. Okay. Then the red is their number 2. So number 2, we're going to be taking right over and putting it onto the positive side of the alternator. And what this does, this is actually going to measure how much load is actually on the alternator and how much voltage is being used. So they actually want you to run this to like your voltmeter or something like that or whatever. So you can do that, or you can run it right to here and it'll give you the power that you need, so it knows as if it's running low on juice or anything, your battery, because this now is going to come around over to your starter right here, and the positive side of your big battery cable right here that comes over from the battery. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a jumper with 8 or 10 gauge wire from the positive side right over to the starter to the positive here that goes to the battery. So then we got our positive here, and the positive is going to go up here to number 2. So, and this is that connector. So we'll just set that connector right here. So number 1 is for your dash light. So you have your white, and you run this up to whatever color you're using. I don't know what your colors are on your trucks, and mine's a custom wiring harness, and if you guys follow my other wiring ones, it's completely different than what other people do. So If you could see that, I don't know if you could see it very good, but here's my fuse box. Here, I'll pick it up here. Here's the fuse box here according to my wiring diagram, and I have yellow coming out of it over to the dash light. And then from the dash light behind where the engine sits, behind there, there's a yellow wire with a black marker on it. That's what I did. So this actually was going over to the voltage regulator, which is now no longer in the loop. So you could take that completely out. So then you have this, and this is sitting here, and it's just sitting in the engine compartment. So the piece that's sitting over there by the generator that we have now, or alternator, the old wiring was a yellow wire that came up. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect that white wire coming off to the yellow. The yellow is going to come up. It's already in the engine compartment. It's already wrapped around up by the fuse box. So this is just a simple connection right here. From the yellow with a black marker from right here to the yellow wire that comes over. And then we're going to connect it here to the white wire. And that'll be it for the wiring for the dash light. So when you turn your key on, it energizes the light. The light will come down, give it power to the alternator, and once it starts up and starts spinning, it'll turn that light off on the dash. And that's exactly what we need. So this is confusing, and I know I've watched these videos. There's quite a few videos on here for wiring, so check those ones out too or whatever. I strongly suggest that. But this is what I'm going to be doing here with mine. So I'm going to go work on making this. I'm probably going to use 10 gauge because I know I have 10 gauge wire here. And the ground is also in the wiring diagram. I'm going to use that same wire for the ground. And then these ones, I'm going to put connectors on the end. And I'll show you over at the truck. I know it's confusing, so you could probably skip over all this and go check out some other videos. So we got the wiring complete. So here, sometimes visually it's easier to see than see a diagram. So here we got our positive coming out of number 2, comes around over to the power post. Power post here goes over the green wire and goes right over to the starter wire over here. Starter wire now comes over here to the positive, and it's just saying it's connected there. So the white wire, number 1, comes over, attaches to the, whoops, excuse that, the yellow wire that is now connected to the dash light. The yellow wire comes up to the white wire to get the alternator charging. So then over here I ran the ground wire. It's a thinner ground wire because it already grounds through the block, and the block is grounded to the battery, but I put the extra one on there for just in case, just so a little extra ground there. Then the green wire here, this is the original from the generator, and I have it zip tied the whole way around up through the engine compartment, and it is zip tight so tight that I can't even slide it out. So I'm just going to cap it off, and I'm going to zip tie all these together so they don't move around. So this is done. Over here where the voltage regulator was, I took that out. I combined the 2 yellow wires together over here. Let's go over that side. So like I said, voltage regulator's out right here now. And now I have these extra wires here, the green and then the black. The black, it just comes right over to the battery. So I'm just going to take that one out. It shouldn't be too hard to do, but that green wire, that's so hard to do. I'm just going to cap that off and zip it up, zip tie that. And here's the other end of the yellow wire right here. I have it in a Volkswagen connector from here to there, from the fuse box, or no, right from the light, goes over to the yellow, goes over to the alternator. Okay, and then this is the old ground wire. I'm going to disconnect that too. So anyways, so the moment of truth. I think I got all the wires connected and everything, so let's see if we blow a fuse. I don't hear any sparks. Battery is now connected. Let's go over to the other side. Okay, it's looking like nothing's catching on fire so far. So we're good so far. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a start and see if it starts charging. So she's in, she's working, she's charging. The belt didn't come off, and you saw in the video there, we're charging at 16 volts right now, which I think because the battery's probably a little bit low, so it's probably charging up a little bit. So she's all installed, ready to go, and she's working. The lights on the dash, it's not coming on now, so I'm very happy with it so far. So if you have any questions about the install or anything, let me know. I'm happy that it went in there so smoothly, but in the future I'll probably change out this bracket here for a little bit longer one. But for now, it's working really good, so I'm happy with it. So thank you for following along. I hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm very happy with it. So I'm happy to actually have a charging system that doesn't have a dash light come on. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.